You've always heard milk is good for your bones, but after 60, that glass might do more harm than good. Many seniors feel bloated, tired, or struggle with sleep without realizing their milk habits are the cause. In this video, we'll break down which milk routines help, which hurt, and what to do instead. Be honest, do you still drink milk every day? Drop a comment and tell me why. And now, it's time for the intro. 3, 2, 1. On a quiet Thursday morning in Maple Ridge, a small retirement town in Oregon, I visited one of my longtime patients, Mrs. Evelyn Ross. She's 73, lively, a former piano teacher with a laugh that fills the room, until lately. Over the past few months, Evelyn had been feeling sluggish. She'd wake up bloated, her knees stiff, and often found herself dozing off right after breakfast. "Doc, I still have my cereal and milk every morning like I always did," she told me. But something just feels off. This conversation isn't unique. In fact, it's becoming more and more common. Many older adults hold on to familiar eating habits from their younger years, especially the glass of milk. For decades, we were told, milk builds strong bones, and that message stuck. But what happens when the body changes after 60? What if what once helped us now quietly weighs us down? Today, we're going to take a clear look at milk, and I mean all types of milk. Whole, low-fat, almond, oat, sweetened, unsweetened. But here's the twist. We're not just talking about whether to drink milk, but how to drink it smarter as we age. Because yes, milk can be good. It can also do more harm than good if it's taken at the wrong time, in the wrong form, or with the wrong assumptions. To make it simple and practical, we're going to rank the most common milk drinking habits among people over 60, from the most harmful to the most beneficial. By the end, you'll know exactly which level you're at and what you can do to shift to a better one. So, whether you're someone who drinks milk every day or only keeps it around for the grandkids, this guide is for you. Because at our age, every small change can make a big difference. After my visit with Evelyn, I stopped by the community center just down the road. They were hosting a game night for seniors dominoes, jazz on the radio, and the smell of cookies warming in the oven. That's where I ran into Mr. Franklin Lewis, 72, a retired postman with a sweet tooth and a warm smile. He waved me over, chuckled, and said, "Doc, I've been trying to get better sleep like you said, so now I drink a big glass of warm milk before bed. It helps, well, sort of." We sat for a while, and he told me more. Turns out his warm milk wasn't just plain milk. It was the kind with added sugar, vanilla flavor, sometimes even honey stirred in. He thought it was helping him wind down. But then he mentioned the restless nights, the 3 a.m. bathroom trips, the grogginess in the morning. This is something I hear more often than you'd think. Many older adults in search of comfort or better sleep end up pouring a glass of sweetened milk in the evening. And while the habit may feel cozy, especially during colder months, it can actually do more harm than good. Let's break it down. As we age, our metabolism naturally slows. Our bodies become more sensitive to sugar spikes, especially at night. Drinking milk with added sugar, or even naturally sweet varieties like vanilla almond milk, can cause a sudden rise in blood glucose. Your body responds by producing insulin, which can trigger a quick drop in blood sugar a few hours later, often right in the middle of the night. That crash may wake you up, make you feel shaky, or leave you with a pounding heart for no clear reason. Not to mention sweetened milk. Even in modest amounts, can quietly contribute to abdominal fat and increased inflammation, especially in people with prediabetes or insulin resistance. I've seen it again and again in blood test results and patient stories. And here's the kicker. Many of these patients truly believed they were making a healthy choice. For Franklin, it was eye-opening. I explained how, for someone in their 70s, late-night sugar was like tossing a wrench into the engine. It might not cause an immediate breakdown, but over time, the damage builds. So, what can you do instead? First, take a close look at the label. Many store-bought milks, even some plant-based ones, have added sugars hiding behind names like evaporated cane juice or organic syrup. Avoid those, especially after 6 p.m. If you enjoy the warmth and comfort of a bedtime drink, try unsweetened almond milk or oat milk, gently warmed. You can add a pinch of cinnamon or a touch of turmeric, both of which are anti-inflammatory and help the body relax. Some of my patients swear by golden milk unsweetened plant milk with turmeric, a bit of black pepper, and ginger. Franklin made the switch. Within 2 weeks, his nighttime wake-ups decreased. His energy in the mornings improved. He even said his dreams became clearer. Maybe it's just in my head, he told me, but I feel more settled. Sometimes it's not just about what you add, but what you take away. That single glass of sweetened milk may seem harmless, but if you're over 60, your body responds differently than it did at 30 or 40. Hormonal shifts, slower digestion, and changes in blood sugar regulation mean we have to make more deliberate choices, even with something as small as a nighttime drink. So, if you're reading this and thinking, that sounds a bit like me, you're not alone. The goal isn't to give up comfort, but to redefine it. Choosing something warm, simple, and sugar-free at night can be the difference between waking up groggy and starting your day clear-headed. The small things matter, especially now, and sometimes they start with just reading the label a little more closely. A few days after that game night at the community center, I received a voicemail from one of my longtime patients, Dorothy Lane. "Hey doc," her voice crackled through the speaker. "I'm just wondering if it's okay that I've been drinking whole milk again. My neighbor said it's old-fashioned and not good for me, but I've been doing it forever, and I feel fine, I think." Dorothy is 75, lives alone in a modest home in the suburbs of Spokane, and still tends to her garden every morning. She's active, alert, and sharp-witted. But, like many people her age, her eating habits are anchored in the past. Every morning, 2 slices of toast, a banana, and a tall glass of whole milk. Sometimes another glass with lunch. And if there's pie after dinner, well, that's milk-worthy too. When she came in for her annual checkup, we sat down and looked over her recent blood work. Her cholesterol had crept up. She'd mentioned feeling more bloated in the afternoons, and her knees ached after bending for too long in the garden. Nothing alarming, but enough small signs to raise a red flag. The thing about whole milk is that it was once the gold standard. For decades, especially in post-war America, it was considered essential, a sign of strength, vitality, even luxury. But bodies change. After 60, the enzyme that helps us digest lactose lactase decreases significantly. That means more people become mildly lactose intolerant without even realizing it. They don't break out in hives or rush to the restroom, but they feel gassy, bloated, sluggish. And when you combine that with the high saturated fat content of whole milk, it's a recipe for subtle but steady health decline. Dorothy looked surprised. "But it's just milk. Not ice cream, not candy." That's the trap, really. Whole milk doesn't feel indulgent. It feels natural. But for someone over 60, having 2 or 3 glasses a day adds up to nearly 300 extra calories, about 20 grams of saturated fat, and a hefty dose of hard-to-digest lactose. It's not about demonizing milk. It's about understanding what your body can and can't handle anymore. So, we made a plan. Dorothy agreed to cut down to 1 small glass a day, and she started mixing in unsweetened almond milk for her cereal. We added more calcium-rich greens to her meals, like sautéed kale and broccoli, and introduced chia seeds in her morning yogurt for extra fiber and omega-3s. 2 months later, she came back smiling. "You were right," she said. "I didn't think something so small could make such a big difference." Her digestion had improved, her cholesterol was slightly lower, and she didn't feel as stiff in the mornings. Plus, now I save my 1 glass of milk for when it really counts, when there's pie. That made me laugh, but it also reminded me of something I often tell patients. Health isn't about never enjoying things. It's about knowing your limits and making smart swaps when you can. If you're over 60 and drinking multiple glasses of whole milk daily, it might be time to pause and reassess. You don't have to give it up entirely, but scaling back can protect your heart, ease digestion, and make room for other nutrient-rich foods your body might need more. Our bodies speak in whispers before they scream. Pay attention to those little signs, like Dorothy's knees and her afternoon sluggishness. They're clues, not curses. You've lived long enough to know that being well isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right thing at the right time, for the version of you that exists now, not the one from 30 years ago. After Dorothy made her changes and saw those subtle but welcome improvements, I started thinking about how the conversation around milk has shifted over the years. Not too long ago, patients were proudly clinging to whole milk, but lately, especially in the health-conscious pockets of older communities, the pendulum has swung the other way. At my Tuesday walking group in Fairview Park, I chatted with Harold Winters, 67, former middle school principal, now a self-declared label reader. He told me, "Doc, I gave up whole milk 2 years ago. I'm on the 1% stuff now. No sugar, no fat, trying to stay lean." He looked pleased, and in many ways, he should be. Switching from whole milk to low-fat options like 1% or 2% is often a smart step, especially for heart health. But the conversation got interesting when he described his breakfast. Plain cereal with low-fat milk and black coffee, no fruit, no nuts, no healthy fats. Now, on the surface, Harold was doing everything right. But he'd been feeling oddly tired around mid-morning. His last blood work showed lower than expected vitamin D levels and borderline low bone density. Here's the part many people miss. Certain vitamins like D, A, E, and K are fat-soluble. That means your body needs dietary fat to absorb them properly. Without any accompanying fat in the meal, even a fortified low-fat milk can't deliver the full benefit. It's a common trap. People swap out fats completely in the name of eating clean, not realizing that some fats are essential, especially for older adults who often already have reduced nutrient absorption due to age-related digestive changes. I explained to Harold that his low-fat milk wasn't the problem, but the context was. I suggested he keep the 1% milk if he liked it, but pair it with a handful of walnuts or a tablespoon of ground flaxseed on his cereal, or, if he preferred toast, try a slice with almond butter or a few slices of avocado. He raised an eyebrow. "So, fat isn't the enemy?" "Not all fat," I told him. "It's about the type and the timing. Your body doesn't need less nutrition as you age, it just needs smarter delivery." A few weeks later, Harold called and said, "Okay, this is wild. I'm not dragging by 10 a.m. anymore, and I finally feel full after breakfast." That's the thing about this middle category. It's not as flashy as bad or great, which means people overlook it. But being stuck in the middle can hold you back from feeling your best, especially when the fix is so simple. Low-fat milk on its own isn't dangerous, but without pairing it with something that helps unlock its benefits, you're shortchanging yourself. It's like taking a vitamin and flushing it down with a glass of air. And this isn't just about breakfast. It applies to any time you drink low-fat or skim milk, especially if it's your main source of calcium or vitamin D. Think of the body like a delivery system. The nutrients are the packages, and healthy fats are the truck. Without the truck, the packages sit there, unused. So if you've switched to low-fat milk thinking it's a perfect solution, you're halfway there. Now all you need to do is give your body the tools to use it, and sometimes that means welcoming a little almond butter back onto your plate. A few weeks after my talk with Harold, I stopped by the Pine Hill Senior Yoga Center to give a short wellness chat. After the session, a woman in her early 70s named Sheila stayed behind to ask a question. "I gave up dairy a long time ago," she said, adjusting her scarf with gentle hands. "But I've been hearing mixed messages about plant-based milk. Is it really enough for someone my age?" Sheila, at 70, was soft-spoken but sharp. She'd been managing mild osteoarthritis and had adopted a mostly plant-based diet in her 60s after her husband passed away. "I started with almond milk because it felt lighter, but now I'm wondering, am I actually helping my bones or just doing what feels trendy?" It was a good question. Plant-based milks, almond, oat, soy, cashew, have become incredibly popular, but not all are created equal. For older adults, it's not just about choosing non-dairy. It's about choosing fortified non-dairy options and knowing when to use them. So I asked, "Do you check the label for added calcium and vitamin D?" She paused. "I usually just grab whatever's unsweetened." That's where many people, even the health-conscious ones, miss a key step. Plain almond or oat milk may feel like a lighter alternative to cow's milk, but if it's not fortified with calcium and vitamin D, it might not meet the body's needs, especially after 60 when bone density tends to decline. I explained to Sheila that a good fortified plant-based milk should contain at least 300 milligrams of calcium and 100 international units of vitamin D per cup. And it's not just about what's in the milk, but when you drink it. Sheila had a habit of drinking her almond milk alone, in the afternoon, as a light snack. It wasn't doing harm, but it also wasn't doing much good. So, we reshaped her routine. I encouraged her to pair that calcium-fortified milk with breakfast. especially on days when she did her morning yoga. Why? Because gentle movement in the morning increases blood flow and nutrient uptake. Pairing that with calcium and vitamin D improves absorption and supports bone strength more effectively than drinking it on an empty stomach at 3 p.m. We also talked about consistency. Instead of thinking of milk as extra, Sheila began to see it as a support system, an intentional part of her meals. She chose unsweetened oat milk, fortified with calcium and vitamin D, and started using it in her oatmeal, smoothies, and even homemade soups. At her 3-month follow-up, she told me, "It's odd, but I feel steadier on my feet, like my body's not working against me anymore." That's the quiet magic of doing something right at the right time. You might not feel the fireworks, but your body not complaining is already a celebration. It's also a reminder that plant-based doesn't mean automatically healthy, and dairy-free doesn't mean better for bones. It depends entirely on what you're drinking, what's in it, and how your body receives it. For those who don't tolerate dairy well or simply prefer to avoid it, plant-based milks can be a wonderful tool, but only if they're used wisely. The best approach? Look for labels that say fortified with calcium and vitamin D. Opt for unsweetened varieties to avoid hidden sugar spikes, and time your intake around meals or light activity. Sheila didn't need to overhaul her diet. She just needed to make her choices count. And at 70, that small shift gave her more confidence in her step and more peace in her day. Sometimes the best changes aren't loud. They're quiet, practical, and rooted in understanding your body just a little better than yesterday. A few weeks after my follow-up with Sheila, I received a handwritten letter, yes, an actual letter, the kind that arrives in an envelope with a stamp. It was from James Holloway, an 80-year-old retired firefighter from Montana who'd moved to Oregon to be closer to his grandkids. I'd met him at a community health seminar 6 months prior, and he'd remembered a small comment I made. "Don't just drink milk live with it." In the letter, James shared how that idea stuck with him. "I used to treat milk like a medicine," he wrote, "something to fix my bones or chase down a calcium pill. But now, I see it more like a teammate." James lives a quiet, steady life. Morning walks with his old Labrador Nora, tending to his small vegetable garden, helping his daughter with school drop-offs. He doesn't drink milk with every meal, nor does he cut it out entirely. Instead, he uses it purposefully. Half a cup of fortified oat milk in his breakfast smoothie, a splash in his butternut squash soup, or occasionally a warm mug of unsweetened soy milk in the evening, paired with reading a few chapters of a novel. What struck me most in his letter wasn't the milk itself. It was the balance. James had started viewing his diet as a rhythm, not a list. His meals were built around color, variety, and feeling. Milk, whether dairy or plant-based, was no longer the hero or the villain. It was a part of the larger harmony. And that's what this final level is all about. Too often we zoom in on one food, one nutrient, one habit hoping it will be the fix. But health after 60 is less about the extremes and more about the orchestration. It's not whether you drink milk or skip it, but how it fits into the flow of your day, your needs, your movement, your sleep. James also shared how he stopped obsessing over food labels and started listening to his body more. "If I have a morning with lots of walking or work in the yard, I'll have some protein and a little calcium with breakfast. On quiet days, maybe just tea and fruit. It's not a rule, it's a rhythm." He also discovered something unexpected. Adding variety improved not just how he felt physically, but emotionally. "There's something comforting about not doing the same thing every day. Keeps the mind fresh too," he wrote. "This is where we want to arrive, not just smarter choices, but sustainable ones. Milk becomes a supporting role, not the lead actor. Calcium comes from leafy greens, nuts, tofu, beans. Vitamin D from morning sun and movement. Gut health from fermented foods, water, and rest. And milk. Whatever type you choose just plays its quiet, helpful part. So, what does the optimal approach look like? It looks like intention, not perfection. Like drinking a small glass of fortified plant milk with a meal that includes fiber and healthy fat. Like knowing your needs on a cool, slow day might be different than a busy, active one. It looks like choosing options that match your values and your body, not just what's trendy or what you've always done. James ended his letter with something simple that stayed with me. I don't think of food as fixing me anymore. I think of it as walking alongside me. That to me is health at its best. When the choices you make don't feel like chores, but like companions. After reading James's letter, I took a moment to reflect on all the stories we've shared, from Evelyn's morning fog to Franklin's sweet nightcap, from Dorothy's loyal glass of whole milk to Sheila's quiet shift toward fortified plant options. Each one of them, in their own way, reminded me that change doesn't happen through pressure, it happens through perspective. And if you've made it this far in our conversation, perhaps you're wondering, where do I stand? What does my milk habit say about my health? To make things a little clearer, I've put together a simple guide like a ladder, ranking the most common milk habits I see in patients over 60, from most harmful to most helpful. Worst, sweetened milk at night. Causes blood sugar spikes, poor sleep, weight gain. Poor, multiple glasses of whole milk daily, leads to digestive discomfort, higher cholesterol. Neutral, low-fat milk without healthy fat. Better, but lacks nutrient absorption. Good, fortified plant milk, timed well. Gentle on digestion, bone supportive if taken with meals. Best, milk as part of a balanced lifestyle, used with intention, adapted to daily needs, never isolated. What I hope you take from this is not guilt, but clarity. Milk, like any food, isn't inherently good or bad. It's about how it fits into the bigger picture of your life. What works for your neighbor may not work for you, and that's okay. As James said, food should walk beside us, not drag us down or pull us too far ahead. Now that you've seen the full picture, let me ask you this. Which level are you at? Are you still reaching for sweetened milk at night? Or have you already found your own rhythm, like James? Wherever you are on the ladder, there's no judgment, just opportunity. Small steps lead to better mornings, steadier energy, and stronger bones. I'd love to hear your story. What's your milk habit? Have you tried switching to the plant-based or adjusting the timing? Leave a comment below and share your experience. It might just help someone else. And if this conversation helped bring a little clarity or comfort to your day, consider subscribing. There's more to come, more guidance, more gentle nudges toward living well in this stage of life. Until then, take good care of yourself. Your body is still listening,